Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of College Football Game Day Live. I am your host, Thor Nystrom, joined as always by my co-host, Mike Farrell of Mike Farrell Sports. For the next 90 minutes, Mike and I are going to be going through all of our best bets on today's card. And of course, as always, getting to all of your audience questions. So please type them into the chat because we're going to be getting to them throughout the episode. So please type them in and we'll get to them as we get going here. Also, please hit the like button right beneath our faces here. It helps us get the word out that we're doing this. But Mike, without further ado, we have a full card here, so we're going to get right into this thing. Let's get going here with Florida State and Syracuse. Who you got in this one, and what's your angle on this game?
I have Syracuse. I think it's too much. Johnny Wilson's been ruled out for the game. That's not the differentiator, but it's a big deal. Syracuse looked horrible last week. We know this. I don't know if this is an indicator of what the rest of the season is going to be like. Last season, they tanked at the end of the season, through the second.
Yes.
Tank it a little early this year.
Yeah.
But Florida State's been favored by, this number 3 times this season, and they've only covered once. Disappointed me against Virginia Tech, coming close to the cover, but not getting there. Boston College, not even close to covering. But I'm also favoring the over here. Because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Florida State can put up points. They need to put up style points. Obviously, they got to try to get into that top 4 playoff ranking. People are holding that against them. So I like the over here, but I like the side. I think Syracuse is going to cover this one a little bit. And a couple, little prop actions for you. Jordan Travis is going to throw for 3 touchdowns in this game, so take the over on 2.5, and then Trey Benson's going to rush for over 75.5 yards because Syracuse can't stop the run at all.
Yeah, Trey Benson got on track last week against Virginia Tech. Yeah, and he had talked about that in advance. That I think they were coming off the bye, and Trey Benson had talked about how Florida State had to get the run game going. I think the first 4 games, Florida State had averaged something like 4 yards a carry. Trey Benson exploded. I think it was 200 yards in that game. Yeah, was it only 11 carries he had? I mean, he just went ballistic. So, yeah, I like that call on Trey Benson. The line on this game, Florida State minus 18.5. I saw it toggled to this morning. We have a total this one of 53.5. I like your call on the over. That is my decided lean on this one. Earlier in this week, I was leaning to Syracuse just because the line value, I'm putting the rabbit ears around that. Before the past couple of weeks, there was one of the weeks for sure that I had bet on Syracuse, going after that quote unquote line value. I can't do it here. That's why I'm on the over on this one. Syracuse, the last 2 games, Clemson and North Carolina, lost by a combined score of 71-21. 0 explosive plays those last 2 weeks, 0 methodical drives for Syracuse. Mike, you mentioned how they've gone into the tank these last couple of years. Last year, Syracuse started 6-0, then they lost 5 straight games. This year, it's the same sort of deal. It was really interesting. And this is one of the reasons why at the beginning of the week, I was leaning towards taking Syracuse, and I was just, I can't do it. Dino Babers, this was really interesting. At his Monday press conference, he told reporters, he started going into this tangent about how his team had 0 depth. He just went into this whole thing. And you started getting these flashbacks these past couple of years where they've started out really quick and then they've just gone into the tank. And then you started thinking about how, you've seen this movie before. And then you started thinking about how Aranda Gadsden, their best offensive player, arguably, how they had lost him a couple weeks ago. And then how they've had no explosive plays ever since they've lost him, and they can't get the methodical drives going either. They're sort of left with a dinged up Garrett Schrader week in and week out. Hopefully he's healthier this week. They say he's getting back to 100% health. I do like LaQuint Allen, and that's the one advantage that Syracuse has in this game. The Syracuse number 42 run success rate. I do think they'll have a little success on the ground. Florida State's run success rate on defense is number 54. and the run explosion on the defense for Florida State is 117. That's the one area of this game where Syracuse is going to have success. Everything else skews way towards Florida State. They're just every, like I said, every single metric. Jordan Travis, 132 passes without an interception. Jordan Travis, 17 straight games with a touchdown. All the stuff with Florida State just going into the tank. So even though the stuff on the surface, it would seem to show the value on Syracuse, all this stuff in conjunction is why I'm staying away from the side. I'm just going towards the total on this. I do think Syracuse can scratch out some points just with the run game, but Florida State's going to pile it on with the points. Take the over wherever it is right now. Mike, to our next game, Tennessee and Texas A&M. I think this is a really interesting handicap. I had fun digging into this one this week. We're moving on to the 3:30 kicks in this one. If people out there with a girlfriend, with a wife, the early slate is what you skip today. The noon kicks. Once we get to the 3:30 games, that is where you cordon off your day. So the noon one, I'm giving you permission to skip that one. We have a loaded card 3:30 and then into the evening, starting with this one. Mike, A&M is traveling to Knoxville. We got a live line here of 3. It was 3.5 earlier this week. The total in this one right now, 54. Who do you like in this one?
I like A&M, and I'm not a big Jimbo fan, and you were ranting about Jimbo before we got on the air.
I was. Cost me a cover.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, I think they've got the talent to be an elite football team. I don't think they have the coaching staff to do it. And I'm not sure if it's Jimbo's the head coach and Petrino was a head coach and, Adazio was a head coach and Durkin was a head coach.
Yeah.
If there's just an ego issue there, they just don't seem to be on the same page consistently. But the strength of this Tennessee offense this year is running the football. They don't throw the ball like they did last year. Joe Milton is not Hendon Hooker. They are not efficient at all. They are near the bottom in a lot of the passing, a lot of the important passing statistics in the SEC. And the one thing that Texas A&M is really good at up front is, stuffing the run and playing big, and they've got that defensive line. So I like the matchup here. I'm going with Texas A&M to cover this. I don't trust them. I never have. I had Bama. I bet against Texas A&M quite a bit this season. It's worked out fairly well. But in this one, even though it's at home, and Tennessee has hit the money line in their last 6 games at home, and they're just really efficient at home lately. I'm taking Texas A&M because you give me a little bit of a point advantage here. This could be a 1-point game, and it could come down to a coach being a bonehead. So I'm taking A&M and hoping Jimbo doesn't screw it up.
So I got a couple different angles for you here, Mike, and a couple different ideas about this game. I think objectively it's a better, for people that are like just spot handicappers, it's objectively a better spot. I'm going to do my rabbit ear thing again for Tennessee, right? Like Tennessee is coming off a bye. They had some injuries and guys that were out. They had gotten one guy back the week before the bye. I think they're going to get one other guy back this week, the center, and then there was a cornerback. And so like they're going to be fresher, and different stuff like that. And then A&M, it's sort of the opposite, right? Like you were mentioning the Alabama game. I can barely talk about that game without getting a twitch in my eye. Some of the stupid coaching decisions and the timeout when they were at the one and then kicking the field goal. And Jimbo, what are you doing, man? It's not just that they should, with the cover, they should have won that game, with some of those coaching decisions. I can't get into it. But anyway, you're coming 1 week off of that. Now you turn around, you have to go to Knoxville. So it is a better situational spot for Tennessee. But this matchup, it absolutely favors A&M on the field. The handicap is better for A&M. They match up really well against this specific Tennessee team for a lot of the reasons that you were stating. The other thing is there is an enormous strength of schedule discrepancy in favor of Texas A&M. Tennessee hasn't played anybody, and yet a lot of their advanced metrics are awful. And again, in ways that enormously favor Texas A&M. So let's get into it. And by the way, I think it was With the, you can look at whatever metric you want, but the SP Plus strength of schedule, number 88 for Tennessee, number 18 for Texas A&M. The treetop way that I look at this is Texas A&M, they're number one in the nation. Their defense is in sacks per dropback. They have the amazing pass rush. And people who watched last week's Texas A&M Alabama game, most of us did who are sitting in this room because we're all college football sickos. You remember A&M sacking Jalen Milroe over and over again when Jalen Milroe wasn't completing long passes to Jermaine Burton. It was like one or the other thing was happening or whatever. Milroe finished that game with negative 35 rushing yards. A&M, the pass rush is amazing. They're going to be getting after Joe Milton over and over and over again in this game. So what Milton has to do for Tennessee's offense to remain viable, it's hit the explosive passes. And people who haven't watched Tennessee's offense this year yet, they're going to be like, oh, well, that's okay because Tennessee has an explosive passing offense, right? Like, I mean, Josh Heupel always has explosive passing offenses. Not so fast, my friend. Not this year. So this year, Tennessee's passing offense, despite facing the number 88 SP Plus strength of schedule, number 88 in passing explosion, number 84 in blitz down big play rate this season. And the Vols are number 101 in pass down success rate just in general, right? So A&M, they're going to come after you. They are going to generate heat on you. They do that even against the best opponents in the country that they have played. We have seen that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But and by extension, they are going to leave themselves thin on the back end. A&M is 119th in passing explosion allowed on defense. So they give you those opportunities if you can hang in there and give yourself enough time in the face of that heat and then be able to throw a deep and hit an accurate pass against that thin back end. It's just Tennessee can't really do that. And Joe Milton absolutely can't be accurate throwing downfield. He hasn't done it. In addition to that, Tennessee's wide receiving core is severely depreciated. And they don't have guys that can make plays downfield, even if Milton could hit those throws accurately. They lost a couple guys to the NFL, including their biggest downfield threat in Hyatt. And then Brew McCoy is injured for the season now. So you have all kinds of issues with that. Mike, you mentioned that now they've become a run-first team. I think people would be surprised to know that now they're even just slightly above average in terms of NCAA run rate. The Vols are number 60 in run rate nationally, right? We have 133 teams in the NCAA now. And so they're, like I said, slightly above average in terms of that. So you talk about that, and then Texas A&M, their defense, besides the pass rush, the decided strength of the Texas A&M defense, it's their run defense. A&M run defense, number 4 success rate in the country. So you're running into a brick wall there. Tennessee, they don't have the one stud running back. They have that 3-person rotation. All those kids, again, brick wall. So I just don't know what the recourse is here for Tennessee. It's either Joe Milton, who makes mistakes all the time and is inaccurate under duress the whole game, can't hit passes downfield. That's the one way that you get yards against A&M. Or the three-headed guys running into the brick wall. And then on the other side, Tennessee has a good run defense as well, but you can throw a little bit on them. I think that's the matchup here where the yards are coming. So, where there's most advantageous for one of the sides' offenses. So definitely I'm on A&M here. You have to overcome the situational spot for sure. But because of the on-field handicap, I think it is so advantageous for A&M. I have to go with that. The other thing I would say, from what I'm saying, you probably know that I would lean the under even despite any other factor. The weather today, Mike, I was talking about that better, what was that called? Better Weather, that website I told you about last time.
Yeah, I'm on it right now.
Oh, does it still say the extreme under indicator for this game? I don't know if it changed overnight.
Well, it doesn't list it, but there's oranges like it looks like where Knoxville is, there's orange for moderate weather indication, so that's
Oh,
moderately.
maybe it changed. Hold on,
Yeah,
I gotta pull it up because last night it said it was very strong under.
yeah, it changed because very high. We got Michigan State, Rutgers, Indiana, Michigan.
Okay, well it does say under now, but last night I think it was the very strong under, but it still gives us the under, but
Is it for wins? Like what's going on?
for the wind,
Yeah,
yeah.
figured.
So there's we have 15-mile-per-hour winds called for today in Knoxville, and we still have the under indicator on that gate. Anytime you get 15 and above, it's statistically significant for the over under. And by the way, another indicator that the Achilles heel of the A&M defense is not going to be exploited by the Tennessee offense. Not that Joe Milton could do it anyway, but those 15-mile-per-hour winds wreak havoc on the deep ball anyway, like in any situation
Anybody, so I took
in a
the
vacuum.
in the Chiefs Broncos game because the wind indication. Now Patrick Mahomes, has an arm,
Yeah,
but it affects everybody. And it
everybody.
affects your game plan. It makes you run the football more. It makes you less apt to. It also affects field position, a lot of different things. So, yeah, if there's wins under, and there's wins, it's just not high. It's at moderate right now, but it's going to impact this game.
So we haven't done a segment like this or a pick like this, but if I had like a juiced 300 a plus 300 plus parlay for people out there, by far my most confident one today. I put this one in yesterday, and I was like, this has a really good shot to cover. Is the A&M money line and the under of this game? I feel pretty good about it. Because I think A&M is going to win this game.
So they're like a plus what, 155?
So hold on, I'm going to pull it up right now.
I wonder what you'd get. You'd be right around plus 300, I would guess.
Let's see. And I'm just going to pull it up at the, whichever.
Yeah, plus 130. And then you couple that with the under, you'd probably get rate 270 to 300 in that range.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, my let's see if I can pull this up on my book while we're live right now. But yeah, I got pretty good and pretty juiced odds on that thing. It was over 300. Oh, live right now it would be plus 333, and I think I got higher than that yesterday. I think I got like 350 or 360. So for whatever it's worth, yeah, like I said, I like A&M's odds to win that game, and I think there's pretty decent odds that thing goes under, because both of the teams are going to have to run, and both of these run defenses are real good, like top 20 at least run defenses in the nation.
Some would
So
have to give, though, because Tennessee is amazing recently at home, straight up money line. And A&M's horrible on the road, straight up money line.
that is true. Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying about the situational thing. And that's a good point, Mike. A&M has struggled on the road. And you're right. Tennessee is good at home.
Really good.
So A&M is going to have to overcome the situationals. That is a great point. Yeah, and I forgot to bring that up about the struggles of A&M away from home.
Everything.
Another thing they have to overcome.
But I think they've won. I think Tennessee's won like 12 straight home games.
Yeah.
And I think A&M's lost 7 straight road games. So, now, again, 12's not going to be 13 and 14 and 15. It's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
And the losses on the road aren't going to last forever too. So you're betting against, like, you're actually betting like it's due. This is like kind of a due thing. Like you're at the blackjack table and he's cobbling together 20s and 21s, and you're going to go big because you can't keep doing that. And so. But that's the gambling risk. It's like, oh, he did it again. Now I'm dead. But you're feeling that we're due for this Tennessee home streak to end and this A&M road streak to end.
Yeah, and we're at the part of the season, Mike, right, where it's like these teams we don't yet we're not how do you say, like, we're not when we get to the end of this season, we'll know looking back what level these teams were at. But like we aren't there yet where they've differentiated themselves, right? And I feel like this is one of those kind of games where these teams will separate themselves. And I guess I just think that A&M is a level or two above Tennessee. I don't like that Tennessee team. And I like A&M. I think that A&M's good. I think that A&M had a real shot to beat Alabama, for instance, last week. Probably should have. And I think A&M is closer to the high end, the upper echelon of the SEC than the level below that. Whereas I think Tennessee is closer to the middle of the pack. We'll see if the other situational factors in play, the things of like coming off of the bye, being good at home, different stuff like that, or A&M coming off of that really the physical game and then coming off their second loss, having to overcome that. We'll see if those factors end up overcoming the fact that this is an awesome matchup for A&M and different stuff like that. In general, I am a matchup handicapper. I always have been. That's always the foot I've been led with, and that's where I've had success. And so we'll end up seeing, but yeah, that's what I've always gone with. And to me, on the field, I just think Tennessee is going to have a really hard time here because I think they're going to have to be led right into the strengths of A&M in this game. Because if you go the other way, you're going into the wind here, and you're going into a thing where you have to have Joe Milton a sitting duck into that pass rush, where he's putting the ball up for grabs and into the wind, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to get the field flipped on you. Enough about that one, but I think that's a fascinating game. Speaking of fascinating games, and guys, this is the last one we're going to talk about before we get into your audience questions. So any questions that you have, please put them into the chat. Sides, totals, props, any exotics, like any different thing that you want us to talk about. We are going to get to the 9 biggest games on the board as we go, but any questions that you want Mike and I to talk about, any bets you're considering, please put them into the chat. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button so we can get the word out that we're doing this out there on the YouTube. It helps with algorithm for reasons that Mike and I, two boomers, we don't understand. We would appreciate that. We'd also appreciate it if you'd subscribe on another button down here somewhere so you can see when we're doing this in the future as well. But Mike, we have to get to a game that you and I have been looking forward to for a couple weeks now. This is one where I've been talking with in fact, I have buddies coming over today. We're ordering food. Like we have like a whole thing set up for this thing. I can barely breathe thinking about this game. Oregon traveling to Seattle, Washington. I even have buddies in the building for this game that, in fact, they're probably out tailgating right now.
Probably a game right now, right?
What's that?
They're probably a college game day right now.
Probably, yeah. I'd have to text one of them and see, but this line up. Oh, I'm actually a little surprised. It appears as though this line has toggled to 3.5 live. This one it was really interesting. Mike, you know that we do on Sundays. Me, Eric Froton, and Welsh, we do a early line look ahead show where so I run my numbers on Sunday, and then we do a show like right when Circa is dropping the lines for the next week, for the next Saturday, whatever. This line was doing crazy things while we were recording that show. It was like 3, and then it jumped to 3.5, like right when we were recording. Then in 5 minutes, it went from 3.5 to 2.5. Like it was obvious that big groups had just smoked it down on Oregon. And then it went up to 3. Like it was just doing crazy stuff. Well, anyway, the reason I bring this up is it remained at 3 then, like all week long. It was like kind of eerie. But now here on game day morning, it is apparently gone to Washington 3.5. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here during game day, but we will talk about it as 3.5 because that's what it's at now. Washington minus 3.5. We have a total of 66.5. It appears 330 kick. Mike, who do you like in this one?
I like the over. I don't like the side at all here. And then 3.5 is a little bit better because initially I was leaning towards Washington with the home field advantage. That being said, Oregon's been very, very good against the spread consistently. They're winning you money. I don't know who's going to win this game. I have no idea. Oregon's played nobody. Washington's played some teams. It's an offensive matchup. Washington's secondary isn't very good. We don't know how good Oregon's defense is because they haven't played anybody. So take the over because that seems low. 66.5 is low. I don't know what they know. Maybe let me check this better weather thing and see if there's something going on out there. But Gameday this morning, there's no rain. It's a green light, minimal factor for weather. Why is it so low? I don't understand. I don't know what your adjusted number is or Thor system is, but to me, hammer the over because this is going to be a shootout.
Yeah, it says chance of light rain, but wouldn't that be daily out there in Seattle, Mike?
Yeah, every day.
Every single day. The wind 6 miles per hour. So you can forget that. Yeah. No effect on the over under with that stuff. My system likes the over. It's with you, and so do I, Mike. 72.7 is my total on that one. Sitting at 66.5. I definitely lean that way with you. I do like Oregon on the side though, especially with that hook. I'm surprised it got back to 3.5. It was funny. I was telling that story about being on the show on Sunday. I was talking on the show and it had toggled to 3.5. And I told the guys that, and then I think Froton started talking and I had seen it because it was on my book. And so I loaded up a betting ticket and I was going to, place my bet. And then it was my turn to talk again. And so, it was sort of pending. And then I did my spiel for the show. Then I went back to punch it in. And then the thing, that was when it had gone to 2.5. And so I couldn't get my friggin' 3.5 bet in. And then the rest of the week, the thing was at 3. So then, it was 2.5, but then it went up to 3. So then I placed it at 3. I didn't want Oregon at 2.5. And now it's at 3.5. If I had thought this thing was going to get to 3.5 again, I would have waited, but who could have?
It's at 3 at DraftKings. So I think.
Oh, is it really?
Depends on the book you're shopping, but it's at 3 now.
Yeah, I bet. Like when that thing gets to 3, you're seeing the sharp groups just smack it back because on Sunday it was so fast when that thing was 3.5. It went right back. So
it could be one bet.
Exactly. Yeah. That it was really quick. And by the way, it makes sense. Either way. Right? Like it shouldn't be on either side. These teams are very closely matched. And I'm not saying, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying, I love Oregon over, Oregon is objectively way better than Washington. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you give me 3 or 3.5 over Washington, when you're giving me the team with the better defense, and you're giving me the team with the better run game, and you're going to give me 3 and the hook, I'm going to take that because to me, this game should be a pick'em. That's what I'm saying. That's the simple handicap here. And going just a little bit further than that, just sort of zooming in a little bit. The other important part of this handicap for me is the Washington run defense against the Oregon running game. So Washington's run defense, 117th nationally in stuff rate. Washington's run defense, they give up 4 yards a run on 51% of the attempts. That's 107th in the nation, despite the fact that they have played worse than the 100th strength of schedule in the nation. So very bad. They're still really poor in terms of the run defense. Bucky Irvin and Jordan James, very good running back tandem on Oregon's side. They're averaging 138 yards per game and 8.2 yards per carry. And what I found really interesting this year, Mike, you recall last year, Bo Nix was running around quite a bit for Oregon, and then he had gotten dinged up at the end of last year. Ever since then, they don't run Bo Nix around much anymore. Bo Nix scored a bunch of rushing touchdowns last year. He hadn't really been scoring them this year. I won some money earlier this year just by fading the books were putting out his anytime touchdown rushing, and you were getting it around like even or even juiced odds in your favor at the beginning of the year. But like I was noticing end of last year, and like I said, the beginning of this year, he wasn't rushing. Now you can't get those odds anymore because the books have caught on. But a part of that is, and I think it's pragmatic on Oregon's side. They don't need him to because Oregon is running the ball so well with Irving and James. But then also you save Bo Nix. Oregon is playing the long game here with Bo Nix. They know that they are certainly Pac-12 contenders and potentially CFP contenders. So they're using the other guys for the run game, and we're going to preserve Bo Nix. I mentioned Washington's run defense, the metrics. Two more for you there. Run success rate 50th. Oregon's running offense, number 1. Rushing success rate in the nation, number 1. Rushing explosion. You have an enormous mismatch there. I understand that Washington's passing offense is really, really good. And I will also say, as the owner of Dylan Johnson in my 50-team league, Mike, I run that 50-team college fantasy football league.
I looked at it. I didn't even think about joining.
It's the most beautiful thing on earth. It's
unbelievably intense. Like I don't have the bandwidth for that.
It's my gift to earth. Like when I leave, when I die, on my tombstone, I wanted to say the creator of the 50-team college fantasy football league. It's my legacy. But Dylan Johnson is on my team, as is Roma Dunze, by the way. But as the proud owner of that, I can tell you Washington is running the ball better this year. Dylan Johnson's coming on. He had gotten injured earlier this season, and he can catch the ball as well. He came over from Mike Leach's team. RIP. But like he's Dylan Johnson now playing better, since he came back, whatnot. Washington can run the ball a little bit better, but Oregon, their defense is better, right? So again, Oregon's defense better. Oregon can run the ball better, and Washington has that enormous bugaboo with stopping the run. That's where I think this game ends up changing. So both Mike and I like the over. I like the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon probably wins this one outright, but either way, you're giving me those 3 points. I have to take it. We're going to get to your questions in a second, so hurry up and write them in. But before that, I have to tell you guys about the Betting Pros app. If you don't have it, go in there and download it now. The free Betting Pros app. You can get it on iOS and Android. The app is awesome. I'm on that thing every single day. You can do a whole bunch of different things with it. You can track your picks. You get custom analytics on it, on your performance, on all sorts of different metrics, your NCAA picks, your NFL picks, underdog picks, against the spread picks, over-under picks, your money line picks, like all sorts of different things. And then your ROI picks, like and all those different things. You can also sign up for line alerts. Which I think of like as stock alerts, like buy signs, like when it hits a certain price. So the same thing with this, like at a certain book, a certain side that you like if it hits a certain price, like tell me, and then you can go in and bet it, whatnot, which is really cool. So then you can go in and hit it. Then you can also follow experts, whether it's, you can follow Debro, for he does props. He's really, really good at it. He's made me money. You can follow like the NHL guys, NBA guys, different stuff like that. The other sports that I don't bet, I don't follow at all. I follow those guys so I can get some action in. Now that the NBA started, I didn't even know that that some of those other sports are starting now. MLB playoffs. Like, I like to get some action in on that. Like, Mike, I've watched like 3 MLB games this year, but it's hard for me to watch the other sports if I don't have action in. So
how could you not be a hockey fan though?
Well, that is true. I do watch the Wild. The fans there, they have the flickering lights and the thing. Like when I do go to XL, I get jacked up. But when I do, I need to have some action. So like
but you're Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, hockey hotbed, and you have to be an NHL fan.
Well, I got a pond right out there, Mike, literally right to my right. I lace up the skates and I go out there. But even then, I'm trying to bet my neighbors. Like, what do you think the odds are that I can hit a shot from 90 feet out here? And they're like, you degen. And I'm like, well, yeah, yeah.
Betting.
You know, they won't bet me. But anyway, I'm like, get on the app. I'll put in anyway. But yeah, head on over to bettingpros.com/apps to set your line alerts. Download the Betting Pros app today. All right, Mike, are you ready to get into the mailbag? Open up the mailbag.
There's going to be some.
I hope we got some deep dives, Mike.
Yeah, there's going to be some dumpster diving.
Let's go. Oh, I love dumpster diving. Let's do this. All right. Our friend Cool Thugger Jackson says, good morning, guys. Do you think Syracuse team total goes over 16.5 today? I'm going to say yes. And the reason why is it's twofold. It's Schrader is a little bit more healthy, and the Florida State run defense isn't as good as people think, and Syracuse can still run the ball. So despite my trepidations about Syracuse as a team,
and that's
we agree.
Expecting Syracuse to hopefully hit that 17.
We agree. Robert Moore says, what do you guys think of the Iowa State-Cincinnati game? I'm thinking of the under and Iowa State over. Mike, you want to start?
Under. I've made money on Iowa and Iowa State and certain Big Ten matchups, not Big 12, but certain Big Ten matchups all season long on the under. Iowa State under, it's 42.5. Take the under.
My line on that game is Cincinnati minus 2.7, and my total is 35.6, Mike, to your point. Heavy lean towards the under for sure. I would also probably lean towards Iowa State as well. Mike Huseman says, Battle of the Titans, G5 game of the week, the one that I have been waiting for. Do you guys like Charlotte to cover +3 against Navy? Mike, this one sounds right up your alley, so I'll kick it to you.
I'll be quick because I don't really care. Charlotte. Biff OG, give me Biff. I went big on Biff against Florida, if you remember correctly. Biff doesn't like me from the old high school days at Gilman and all that. Maybe he likes me. I don't know. He was going to offer me a job, never offered me a job. But he's a good coach. Charlotte's a solid team. I like Charlotte.
Mike, if I may, can I have a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Have you forgiven Biff yet for the whole escapade with the job and the whole thing? Have you guys buried the hatchet?
No, the hatchet's buried. Like, you remember his son Henry was a 4-star kid, went to Michigan, wasn't very good. Kind of, there was a whole thing about whether Henry was rated high enough, and then they went to Harbaugh, and Harbaugh doesn't like anybody. He certainly doesn't like me. It was a whole thing. But Biff at Gilman, it was just, I've forgiven him for sure. I don't care. It wasn't real money. It wasn't a real job offer. Biff's got a lot of money. He was, flashing it around a little bit and going to hire you for this particular thing. And I couldn't have worked for him anyways. I had a non-compete where I was. So it's just, when you went to a Gilman game, you had to bend your knee to Biff. That's what it was. And a lot of the DC privates, you didn't have to do that. So Biff demanded respect from me. He made me earn it, where most of the guys were like, oh, I'm glad you're here. He wasn't.
Mike, you could make amends to Biff by doing what I'm about to do. Join me in it and saying Charlotte outright today over Navy. We don't need the points. The fighting Pogies over the midshipmen today.
I wonder if Henry's on that staff. I got to look at that staff. I bet you his son's on that staff somewhere.
Are you with me, Mike? Are you riding the Pogies?
Yeah, I will. I wouldn't mind a money line on that. I think Charlotte's a better team.
Let's do it. Yeah. Fighting Pogies. You hear that, Biff? We're riding with it.
Biff doesn't watch this show. Trust me.
Oh, Biff.
He did.
Biff's there. Biff's there in his undies this morning. Getting ready.
Nope.
Yeah.
Phone call. I didn't get a phone call.
Hey, Biff. Good morning.
He's not there.
He's out there.
Great name, though. Biff. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's out there. Mr. Motion says, who wins, Oregon or Washington? We just talked about that one, Mr. Motion. You just rewinded a little bit. I think Oregon wins. Both Mike and I like the over.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lee says, Anaya Smith over 55.5 receiving yards. Happy you asked. I have been just smashing the Anaya Smith overs every single week because Max Johnson loves Anaya Smith. I will go the over on Anaya Smith again. Mike, any thoughts?
I'm going to say Evan Stewart, 52.5.
Okay.
The guy's just so talented. He's going to break out one of these days. They don't throw to him enough, but he's talented.
So I will say, before we just throw, money at this, is the wind is the only trepidation on these receiving and the passing overs today.
Yeah.
And it does. So I do have to backtrack just a little bit. And I got to rethink this one just a little bit.
He doesn't have a big arm. The ball could flutter.
It could flutter.
That lefty flutter plus the spin on it. Lefties have a different spin than righties.
I got excited when I saw Anaya Smith's name, but I do have to rethink for a second. Hold on, let me check the win one more time.
But I do like Evan Stewart, 52.5. It's a little bit lower. I know he targets Anaya Smith a lot, but I'm saying Evan Smith with 2 catches could get that 52.5 if they throw the ball to him. He doesn't even need to be open. 50-50 ball, that kid. His body control is amazing. They just don't.
Yeah, it's still a 15. Man, Smith has been those overs have been so good. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up let's see what it's recently. They've been really, really good to me. Yeah, the last 4 games for Anaya Smith: 7 for 127, 5 for 78, 4 for 71, 4 for 88. He's been cashing tickets for me over and over again. But this is a tough one with that wind. I do think that A&M will look to manufacture touches for him. And Max Johnson loves Anaya Smith. Like, they've been with each other for a bit.
On one receiver, always has.
Yeah. He loves
it at LSU too. It's the same thing. It's what made Keyshawn Butte good. Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And he sucks. Like, he was a talented kid out of high school, but Max Johnson made him good. And then when Max Johnson lost his job, Keyshawn Butte sucked.
So I would be more confident in Smith, but it's got to be manufactured stuff closer, because the longer stuff, that's where the wind's going to catch it. I would be more trepidatious about Stewart, because I think the long balls, it's not like, I agree with you, Mike. Like, Stewart's a friggin' stud, but the longer stuff, I think that's where the ball flutters. The closer stuff to the line, manufactured, but he's going to have to run then. I don't know. I guess I got to change what I said before. I think I probably just stay away from the over-unders. But it's hard, because Anaya Smith has made me a lot of money over the last month. Jordan Onke says, "What's the player prop lock of the day?" I'm gonna pull up my prize picks in my other book, and I'll tell you some of my tickets. Mike, you want to start?
Yeah. How could you even keep track of all the props you bet?
That's why I have to pull it up, because it is hard for me sometimes.
I'll give you one. Caleb Williams over 2.5 touchdown passes. We're getting to that game down the line, but Caleb Williams is going to throw 3 TDs against Notre Dame. So that's my lock.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yours is going to be like some nondescript group of 5 tight end over 12 yards. Right?
No, P5 tight end. I let's see. Eric All has been another guy that every week it cashes the over. I got to go with him again. This time they've toggled it to low 40s from, it was low 30. Well, the first week Lachey was hurt, it was still in the 20s, which that was the free money bet of all time. Then it was low 30s, then it was mid 30s. They finally brought it up to the 40s, but it's been win every week. He's the only receiver they have. So, I mean,
you're going to need more than a 2.0 QBR though.
We haven't so far.
Well, that's true, but to continue to cash that, I mean, if the quarterback play doesn't improve one of these weeks, he's not going to hit that number, because they're just going to throw for 20 yards.
Total. Another one that I like, and I'm going to pull up some stats on this one, is just to support my take, is because this one is a little bit out of left field. So I feel like I have to give some supporting takes. Is the kid who's taking over for Chandler Morris, Josh Hoover is his name, for TCU. They are playing BYU. The over under for Josh Hoover was Josh Hoover vacuum, we call him. He has been set at 190 at least at Prize Picks. Mike, Mike, are you on DK?
Yeah.
If you are, can you check what Hoover is live on there so we get another perspective on this? But anyway, Chandler Morris is out for multiple. We'll see when Chandler Morris comes back. I believe that they set Hoover's number too low. BYU, their pass defense is, well, it's not good in general, but 94th in terms of passing success rate. TCU, their passing offense, Chandler Morris was, hold on, let me pull up a number for you here.
Right around the same 197 area. So
yeah. Chandler Morris was going over that by margin every single week. And sure, you can project this Hoover kid who's already been announced as a starter. You can project that he's not as good as Chandler Morris. That's fine. But first of all, Chandler Morris is no world beater in and of himself. They have receiving talent for sure. And 197 is a joke for a Sonny Dykes offense that we know is going to throw against a bad pass defense.
Hoover can't be worse.
Even if he's 55% of what Chandler Morris is, that number is too low.
Chandler Morris was a favor.
And this is what it is.
And this favor has continued for some reason, and he's got a starting role, and he beat Sonny Dykes. I just don't understand.
Mike, you want to hear the passing totals for Chandler Morris this season? You ready? So I'm just going to go through the games up until the last week when he got injured against Iowa State, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
279, 263, 314, 265, 298. 5 games. Hello? I mean, what are we doing here? 2 touchdowns in every single one. So that's...
And again, it's amazing because he's just not good. So
he's not good. That's right.
Hoover kid out of high school was better. Chandler Morris was horrible. And Chandler Morris, I believe, he committed to Oklahoma initially, and I think there was a favor done there, by Lincoln Riley at the time for his dad.
He's not good.
He's just horrible. So this kid Hoover's better. So if Chandler Morris is putting up those numbers, then yeah, you can expect Hoover to put up over 200.
Hoover vacuum is going to Wally Pipp him.
Maybe. Well,
just like you got Wally Pipp by your boy Dugan last year.
I don't understand. It's just like Joe Milton and Chandler Moore. Like these guys are just getting Wally Pipped, and then they get a new life, and then they get another chance, and then they get Wally Pipped again. And Joe Milton could get Wally Pipped today.
Yeah.
I'm going to start the Nico chant if he keeps sucking.
I'll start it with you.
Nico. Freshman, get him in there.
All right, next question. But yeah, I'll say Hoover. I'll say Hoover is my lock. Jordan Onke says, Mike, hit me with a bet and I'll send you a case of Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, see, wow. I'm drinking. Usually it's coffee. For some reason, I've been up.
Why don't I get a Diet Pepsi, Jordan?
I've been up at 6 a.m. for some reason, so I've already had 17 coffees, so I'm on this now. I'll give you a bet for sure. I really do want the Diet Pepsi, though.
I want some Diet Pepsi.
I'll take anything for free. Anything for free.
Yeah, so will I. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being. It's not a joke. Give me a hat, anything. I'll take anything for free. The under UCLA Oregon State there's your lock. We're gonna get to that. It's not my fade, but it's my lock. So there's your bet. I will expect my Diet Pepsi.
Steve Jackson says, any weather-related unders in the MAC geography? Let's see.
Weather.
Ohio, Northern Illinois is an underlook today. So is Indiana and Michigan.
Yeah. So that in that area, those are the two. And then there's a lot of moderate, Toledo, Ball State, stuff like that. But
the big ones. So the Indiana Michigan one, 20 mile per hour winds in that one with rain. So that's a strong underlook.
Louisville Pitt, it's not MAC area, but it's close. That's a weather edge strong under too.
Rutgers, Michigan State, we got rain and 7 mile per hour winds. Eastern Michigan, Kent, 21 mile per hour winds, Mike, and we got some rain there too. And then Mike, your Minutemen against Penn State, rain and 9 mile per hour winds.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned Indiana at Michigan, 20 plus mile an hour winds and rain. So, but that one's not great because Michigan just run the football all over them and put up 50 points. So that one's not great. I do like the Michigan State Rutgers under, and I like the Louisville Pitt under, and I think Louisville's on upset alert. And I know people think I'm crazy because Pitt stinks, but coming off that big game, this is a perfect trip-up game for them. So it's going to be an ugly game, so take the under Louisville Pitt.
Robert says, need your guys' opinion on the Wyoming Air Force. I love Wyoming on the cover. I agree with you, Robert. I'm on Wyoming. I'm also on the under of that. I just feel like it's too many points, and I understand why the market is trepidatious on Wyoming away from home. I feel like that's what's going on there. Plus, they love Air Force this year. I get it, but the service academy is laying double digits. That's a personal trepidation of mine, and I like Wyoming this year.
Going to win that game. Air Force is really good. Air Force is the team in Colorado people should be talking about, but yeah, I mean, Wyoming's been a solid football team, and that's just too much to lay.
Too many points. Robert also says, what's the website to get the weather for the games? Mike, you're going to have to say it because I never know what
It's weather-better, BETTOR.com. Oh, no, wait, sorry. I had it opposite. It's better, BETTOR-weather.com. It's very simple. They got dots, colored dots, and you click on it and it tells you what's happening. It's great.
It is a really good site, and we don't even get paid for that. It's just a good information.
I'm sure they don't make a penny.
No, just we do because it's good information.
I mean, Nathan, graphics, they're not making anything.
Yeah, exactly. Nathan Cerna says, was thinking about teasing Air Force from minus 11.5 to minus 6.5. Mike and I like Wyoming. We cannot follow you on that. Christian Lopez says Carson Beck over 2.5 passing touchdowns at plus 108. Okay. I don't know if he's asking us a question or
no, he's asking. I mean,
okay. Do you have an opinion on that one, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Yeah, Georgia's playing Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Tremendous.
32.5 point favorite, and that's right around where my line is. We got an over under on that one of
the question is when does he come out of the game and all that. So it's a tough one. I mean, you could throw 2 and then be out of the game in the third quarter, but I would lean towards yes.
Yeah, I stay away from me because it's just factors outside of your control as far as that stuff goes. I always like to do ones where the game script is more, you feel like you have more control of that, stuff like that. Steve DiNucci says Pitt off a bye, Louisville off the big win. Is Pitt money line a play today? Ballsy with the money line thing.
Plus 225. It's worth throwing a tenner on it if you want. It is. This is such a trap game, such an unbelievable trap game, and I still don't believe in Louisville. Notre Dame played like garbage. They're way overrated. Louisville, remember, still struggle with Georgia Tech, still struggle with NC State. This is not a new Louisville team all of a sudden because they went in South Bend and won a game. So if you want to do $10 at a plus 225, great. If you want to go 100, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you're right in seeing the trap spot there. I don't know if I could do for pizza money for sure, throwing it in a parlay, whatnot. But yeah, as far as a spread bet, I think you're sniffing out probably the right side there because that's an all-time letdown spot for Louisville and an all-time ambush spot on the other side for the home fighting Nard Dogs and Pitt. Steve Jackson said, who is winning the 50-team league? Steve, you know who is winning the 50-team league. He's sitting right here.
Rigged.
Samuel Cloutier says, thoughts on TCU minus 5.5. We were just talking about the Hoover vacuum. I would probably lean towards TCU in that one. We'll have to see. Hoover, Mike, you know more about Mr. Hoover's game. We only got to see him in the end of the last one. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Not in a million years. Nope, I'm not touching it.
Okay, yeah. My line on it is TCU minus 7.1. It's 4.5 right now, but that's in a vacuum of both teams being at full strength. If Hoover is around qualitatively where Morris is, and Mike seems to believe he is, the value be on TCU. If it turns out he's not, then maybe not. But yeah, I don't have a bet on that game, but I would lean probably slightly to TCU. But don't have a ton of exposure to Mr. Hoover. But yeah, even though he's my lock of the day for the over. Andrew and Rosa Lilio Jameson says, "Hi guys, Boise State 8.5. I will pull up my line on that one. I know that there's value on it though. My line is Boise State minus 11.3 at Colorado State today. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that one?
I like Boise.
I do too.
Feeling on it though, but I would lean towards Boise.
Yeah, Colorado State has been a big disappointment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. They have sporadically flashed the potential that I thought that they had this year. I mean, in particular, the game against Colorado, and then the next week against Middle. But yeah, it hasn't coalesced consistently. Boise State, they haven't played like we wanted to them all year either, but they are a better team than Colorado State. You get this one for under double digits. I would take Boise in that one, even though there's weird stuff going on there, but Colorado State ain't it. Cecil says thoughts on best player props. Yeah, I mean we've sort of gone through some of these, but we'll be going through more, Cecil. So just watch us through the end of the show. We'll be hitting way more. Robert Moore says, what are your thoughts on Toledo Ball State? I think I was showing value on Toledo in that one, Rob. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. So that the line on that one's Toledo minus 17.5. My line's actually Toledo minus 16.1. I was remembering the wrong thing. The value that I was showing is actually on the over. Over under is 48.5. My system has a total on that one of 55.6. Mike, do you have any quick thoughts on that one?
That's a 13-mile-an-hour rain thing. So
that's what it is. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
I'm not touching it. I like the over before that, but the weather's going to impact that.
Yeah. Don't touch the total. For me, that game would be a straight stay away. After being reminded of that. David says, can Michigan State beat Rutgers? We have a line in that one. Mike, this is another weather one, correct? If I'm remembering this one right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big weather one.
Yeah. The this line is Rutgers minus 4.5. My line is right there. Rutgers minus 4.7. Total on this one of 39. My system's total is 46.3, but Mike just mentioned the weather of this one rain. Makes sense.
Not wind as much, like 7 mile an hour, but a lot of rain apparently.
Yeah. So can Michigan State beat Rutgers? Sure. But I think I would. For me, this would be I think another stay away. But if I had to bet it, I think I'd lean Rutgers. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I just never lean Rutgers. I don't lean Michigan State. I don't like it. I don't like either team. Michigan State's given up, and Rutgers is just Rutgers. So if you're putting money on Rutgers, you got a problem. You do. I don't trust teams like that. Like Kansas is different. Remember, Kansas should be a laughing stock, but now they're a real team. Rutgers,
that's right.
They got a propped up thing going on. I don't believe in it.
R. Stu says, who do you guys like on the money line in the Georgia State JMU game? Isn't JMU playing Georgia Southern? Appreciate it, guys. Yeah. Wait, it is early in the morning, but yeah, JMU is playing Georgia Southern. In that one, unless he's meaning whoever.
It's plus 180 Georgia Southern. They're getting 5.
Yeah, Georgia. Unless he's meaning because Georgia State and Marshall is that game is really that one's a 1. But we'll just assume he's meaning Georgia Southern and James Madison, which has a line of 5.5. Mike, what are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I wouldn't take the money line. I think JMU is going to win a game. I don't know if they're going to win by 5.5, but I wouldn't. He's asking money line Georgia Southern. I don't like it. Yeah,
the interesting part of that one is JMU. run defense is really, really good. Number 2 success rate. Their pass defense is interesting. It's not terrible, but it has an interesting skew where they're 29th in success rate, but 127th in explosion. Uh, Now the Georgia Southern, the air raid, it's going to hinder the efficiency a bit. It just is. But this thing is going to come down to how much the fighting Clay Heltons, who the whole thing is just pass, 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 pass. The James Madison run defense, it's really good, but it's going to wither on the vine. Georgia Southern doesn't care about running, but it's going to come down to how many big passing plays Georgia Southern can hit on. The whole game comes down to that. As far as like the money line of it, this game's 5.5. My line's 6.6. Man, I don't know. I could see nibbling on it. I didn't bet this game all week because it comes down to that. And I can't really trust that because I know that James Madison is going to force Georgia Southern to punt. I know that. And so, again, it's going to come down to how many explosives can you force them into, or can you derive out of it? I just can't get there on, they're going to be able to get X amount. It's sort of a leap into the unknown. But you could, if you want to do that, you certainly can because there is a path, is what I'm saying. Let's see, where are we? Jeremy Lee says Brock Bowers over 75.5 receiving yards. What do you think about that one, Mike?
It's a pretty safe bet, you would assume. Vanderbilt stinks. They're going to target him a lot early, and even if he's out in the fourth quarter, he should reach that number, I would guess.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Beck one, right? It's just like, when did they yank him? Mike, last 3 games for Brock Bowers, 9 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 catches, 157 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 catches, 132 yards, 1 touchdown.
Well, there's also remember they were underutilizing him last year, and he was, well known as the best tight end in football and all this other stuff. Now there's kind of almost this pressure to use him. He's not going to have those games he had last year where it was 3 catches, 22 yards, and he was a decoy, or they were going to hand off to him. He's the main go of the offense, and he's going to get the targets to reach that number, I think.
Mike, do you want to know the thing that makes me happiest in the entire world?
What's that?
At the very beginning, I think this is in July, Prize Picks put out their season-long college football numbers for the first time. And that in a vacuum. But when I look back at my first tickets, the first one that I popped in, Brock Bowers, they set his number at 650 receiving yards for the season. And I put in a very, very large ticket, and he was included on the over. I'm actually looking at it right now because it's, that saying of watching sports is men's therapy. Looking back at my summer season-long college football overs on Prize Picks is my therapy.
So it pays for Christmas?
It's going to pay for lots of things. The Bowers one, that's another tough one for me. Because again, it's when are they going to yank him, or does he get a long, one in the first half, whatever. I probably would lean over just because of, what's been going on to this point. But there's certainly paths to him not getting there if it becomes a big enough blowout early on. But these past few games, like Mike's mentioning, he's just been going ballistic. This is obviously his swan song. They're obviously, feeding him and whatnot for that. And Prize Picks made a big, big mistake, and we're taking him to the cleaners for it. Jeremy Lee also says Cade Stover over 40.5 yards. Cade Stover, did he continue his own mini swan song last week? I have to check this because he was making Prize Picks pay as well.
But he
did.
But he killed us 2 weeks ago.
He did. Yeah, no, he's been going nuts. Cade Stover, last 4 games, 5 for 98, 5 for 90, 7 for 52, and 2 for 66, and a tutty last week against Maryland. So yeah, with that one, I'd say you had to go over on that one. What say you, Mike?
I would. He just disappointed me. What game was it?
That was a couple weeks ago.
It was very disappointing. Who they play? They play some.
I don't fade Kate Stover anymore.
Was it,
That was a one-time only deal for me. I was
was it,
like,
I think it might have been Notre Dame.
no, I think that was
Or was
wasn't that or
that?
was it? It was either that or the
Oh no, it
WKU.
was
But yeah,
Maryland. It was Maryland. It was Maryland.
was it? No. Anyway,
Whatever.
I'm not fading Kate Stover.
I went big on him, and he disappointed me. But what we should probably do is get to the second block.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. We'll get to that.
Are flying in here, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys. We'll get back to it. We have to get to our next one, but we'll get to the next batch of questions here. So just hang in there. But thank you so much for the question. We had so many of them that we're running behind on time. So we're gonna fly through the rest of our games. Then we'll get back to the last question so we can get out of here on time. Mike, let's just go rapid fire on the last 6 of them.
Yep.
Kansas, Oklahoma State, 3:30 kick here. Oklahoma State by 3 today in Stillwater. Who are you liking this one?
Well, I've changed my mind. I mean, initially when I popped this in, I didn't think Daniels would play, but I had a revelation that Mr. Bean is just not it.
My boy.
Not so I can't say Kansas. I like the over. I think what's going to happen is neither team's going to be able to stop the other one and blah blah blah. So I like the over.
Yeah, me too. Going the over. My system's total on this 73.4 and
20 points higher.
Yeah, 20 points higher. And like, in your head, you're like, that's crazy, and Mr. Bean starting and, yada, yada. But remember, and you think like this Oklahoma State offense, what do they got? But remember, beginning of the season, Oklahoma State, the 3 quarterback rotation, which was ridiculous. They had the 2 running back rotation, which was ridiculous. Oklahoma State went to the 1 quarterback a couple of weeks ago. And the 1 running back, the right one on both accounts. Their offense has gotten much better since then. And with Mr. Bean, Kansas has been running the ball really well. They stampeded UCF last week. So I think both offenses do well. This is a tough one with the side. We're very close to the margins. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, on my sake, Rock Chalk prevails, but I don't know on that one. So we're going the over. Next one, Auburn LSU. We're moving to the night games. This is 7 o'clock Eastern kick. We have a live line in this one, Mike, of LSU minus 11.5. Who do you like in this one?
Give me LSU. Their defense stinks, but Auburn can't do anything but run. Auburn's going to try to take the air out of the ball. They're going to try to keep this low scoring. I know, a lot of people like the over. I'm not sure about that number. I think it's pretty close. I think LSU is going to win this one pretty easily.
I'm going over, Mike. Every game for LSU, over. The defense is an abomination. LSU's defense, rushing success rate, 109. Rushing explosion against, 109. Passing success rate, 112. Passing explosion, 105. People will tell you out there, Auburn cannot throw on anyone. LSU's defense is about to say challenge accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge accepted.
You got to hope Auburn gets 14, though. That's your hope.
LSU's defense is about to say challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
They're so bad against the pass. Peyton Thorne's so horrible. This is like a team that can't throw the ball against the worst pass defense in college football. Which is going to play out? Can Peyton Thorne look like Tom Brady against this defense? I just don't know. That's why I think LSU is going to win the game, and I think they're going to win it going away. And Auburn, if they score 14, you're going to hit your number. But they got to get two touchdowns.
They can do it, Mike.
They should be able to.
Mike, Sam Houston's offense could put up.
That's true.
Could put up 30 on this LSU.
I don't know. So
that's the game I want to see. Is Sam Houston against LSU?
We got different takes on that one.
So this is a 7:30 kick Eastern. Missouri, Kentucky in Lexington. Kentucky 2.5-point favorite over Missouri. Who do you like in this one, Mike?
I think Kentucky bounces back, and I think Missouri, the running back's out. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Brady Cook. Not that he can't handle it, but, coming off that disappointing loss last week, Kentucky being a little bit ticked off, they're going to play physical football. I think maybe we'll see a good game from Devin Leary. Give me Kentucky.
Same. Yeah. To me, this line is an overreaction, a deflation, basically, to people liking what they saw of Missouri last week, where just marching up and down the field on that awful LSU defense that we were literally just talking about. And then, same day, watching Kentucky just get smoked by number 1 team in the nation. But a lot of people get smoked by Georgia. So I'm not going to overreact to that. Kentucky is the better team. They are at home. My line on that game is Kentucky minus 3.8. I like Kentucky, think they're the better team, think they're at home, and I think this line should be a little bit higher. Going to give that to me under a field goal. I'm going to take it. Let's just keep it rolling right through, Mike, and go into the Notre Dame USC game. Notre Dame minus 2.5 here, hosting USC. Can Notre Dame get back on track, and can USC play any defense? Who do you like in this one?
I like USC. I mean, I don't like their defense at all. I think they're still playing for something. I think Notre Dame with 2 losses isn't, not that they're going to give up. But I think, I like Caleb Williams here. I mentioned, prop-wise, he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns. This is going to be sort of a Heisman staple moment for him. It's going to be a close game, but I think USC is going to win this one. I don't trust Notre Dame anymore. I had them against Duke. That was, I faded Duke. I was fading Louisville, man. This game was set for Notre Dame to be the more physical football team, and take advantage of a Louisville team that I thought wasn't as tough as they appear to be, and they just blew it. So give me USC. I don't trust Notre Dame.
So we got a disagreement here. I'm on Notre Dame. USC defense has only played 1 offense inside the SP Plus top 80. That was last week against Arizona, a game that I unfortunately stayed up for until like 2 a.m. to watch the entire thing, because it turned out I ended up having like $3,500 on Taj Washington to score a friggin' touchdown, which, despite the fact the game went into 2 overtimes, I didn't get, because it was one of those things where on Prize Picks I had 5 out of 6 picks on, like 5 tickets, and Taj Washington was the one I didn't have. So I had to stay, the game dragged me into it, the whole thing or whatever. So Arizona, they're starting that true freshman, Noah Fafita. It's so the one competent offense that the USC has played. I kind of like that Fajita, Mike. But by the way, and USC, who had decent defensive metrics heading into that game against, not very good offenses, like I was mentioning. They, especially with their pass rush and different stuff like that, they couldn't get any heat on Mr. Fajita, and Fajita was doing all kinds of damage to them. The receivers for Arizona are really, really good, Mike, as you know, between, how do you say McMillan's?
I think it's Tatoria.
Yeah. And then Cowing, we're doing, but again, the true freshman back there, USC was allowing him to be very comfortable back there. He was sort of slicing them and dicing them and everything like that, even despite having played so USC has played the 116 strength of schedule, whatnot. Notre Dame has played the top 25 strength of schedule. I don't know that the USC is going to be able to generate any heat on Sam Hartman. That's the way that Louisville was able to beat them. And for sure, Audric Esme is going to be able to run on USC. So I like Notre Dame to get back on track there. Mike, the next one, Miami and travels to North Carolina. Can Miami get back on track after one of the great meltdowns that we have ever seen, specifically by a coaching staff and Mario Cristobal, your boy, Mike? North Carolina. Ooh, this line is dropped to 2.5. At least that's what I'm showing on my sheet. That is really interesting. Who do you like in this game today in Chapel Hill?
North Carolina. I'm not saying that Miami's going to lose every game from here out, but this is a lot to recover from. They could either circle the wagons and all that other stuff, but I don't think they're gonna. I like North Carolina. I think offensively they're going to put on a show here. Miami's going to fold.
Same. Yeah, I like North Carolina. Tez Walker came back last week. They're riding the high. Tez Walker going to be more ingratiated into the offense. That offense playing really well. People aren't talking enough about the defensive improvements on the North Carolina side. This is a tough ask for Miami 1 week after that, but that's not even the reason that I just think qualitatively, I think North Carolina is the better team. And yeah, I mean, it's tough emotionally for Miami, and that's become the story, whatever. That is something they have to overcome. But even outside of that, I still would have been on North Carolina. I mean, my system has North Carolina -4. So, I mean, anything else that you want to add into that to be like, oh, this is a harder spot for Miami, you would just add that in addition to that, So yeah. I like the Tar Heels. Last one that you and I are going to talk to, and then the remaining time we have left, we're going to try to hit a couple more questions. Mike, UCLA travels to Oregon State in Corvallis today. Live line of Oregon State -3.5. What do you like in that one?
Under. I really like the under here.
A total of 54.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be, obviously, I think a little bit of a slugfest. Oregon State, DJU's been playing well, but Oregon State's a good defensive team. I don't trust Dante Moore yet. I think it's going to be a run-oriented football game, and I think it's going to be under. I don't like the sides. I'm not sure who's going to win. I think Oregon State would probably win, but I don't know if they're going to win by, 3 and a hook. So
This is one of the tougher games on the board. This is just a lean for me. I can't bet this one, but I do lean towards Oregon State. A lot of these outside of the top tier of the Pac-12, a lot of this sort of second tier of the Pac-12, it's like the home team feels like they win and cover every time, between Wazoo, between UCLA, between Oregon State. It's like they sort of trade the win and the cover depending on which is the home team, right? You just think about it, like going back, whatever. That feels like another one here. This is a really tough ask for Dante Moore, who last week beat Wazoo in one of these games at home. Now he has to go on the road to Corvallis, a really tough place to play. My system's line is 4.6. You're getting a point line value there. I'm going to take Oregon State in that one. Okay, Mike, we're done with the speed round. Let's go back into the mailbag really quick, and then we will get out of here with Thor's Hammer and Farrell's Fade. Jeremy Lee asks us, Jayshon Jones of Maryland over 3.5 receptions. Do you have any thoughts on that, Mike?
I would lean towards over.
The Terps are against, let's see, Illinois today as 13.5 point favorites. I'd probably lean over too.
Yeah, Illinois is horrible.
Yeah, Snook Slayer says James Madison, best rush D in football. Georgia Southern, we only pass him pretty well. I'll take those 5.5 points.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Brett Baker says, are you betting over on most Oregon-Washington game? Yeah, we're betting the over. David says, how does the under look for the Central Michigan and Akron game? Mike, any thoughts? And I'll pull up my line.
I would lean towards under. I'm trying to see if there's a weather situation.
So the total on that I'm seeing 43.5. My system total is actually 51.8. Mike, you see any weather? Is that one of those MAC games that's getting smoked?
16 mile an hour winds, so showers too, under.
Okay, so that explains that discrepancy on that one. Jackpot Junkie says Michigan team total over 40 points. That is one of the weather games for sure.
But they're just going to run the ball. I would say over. I know it's a lot.
Yeah,
they're just going to run the ball.
Like but the overall total is 45.5, right?
Hammer the hell out of Indiana.
Yeah.
Then I could be able to stop the run. You can lean under. I'm just going to say Michigan's looking to make a statement, continue to make a statement. I think they're going to score 45.
I would say under with the weather and then the implied with the 45.
Now, the next question for Myron Williams, I would say under JJ 220 because I think they're going to run the ball, and I think JJ's going to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so he asked about JJ McCarthy 220 passing yards. I would say under because of he could get yanked in that blowout and then the wind. Mike Lukovitz says we gotta like Bo Nix over 18.5 rushing yards, right? I don't know. They haven't been running him as much. We were talking about this a little bit before. Let me pull up his game log quick. Mike, do you have thoughts on that really quick?
Just because it's such a, we talked about they're not utilizing him. Well, they really haven't had to. The running game's good, but they've been playing nobody. This is a big game. Bo Nix is going to do whatever Bo Nix can do to win this football game. So I think a couple scampers for 10 yards, take the over.
So, Mike, between just to give context for what I was talking about, between the last 3 games of last year and then this year, I'll give you his rushing yards: -3, -5, 6, and so that was last year. Then this year, 0, 46, 14, 9, 18. But you're right. I mean, like this is a game where you empty the clip. I probably stay away from that just for those reasons. But they are trying to preserve them and, lean into the running backs a little bit more. But just for those reasons, I would stay away from it. Then Mike Lukovitz says, maybe you covered it already, but thoughts on Utes -9, assuming Cam isn't playing with the line dropping. Mike, did you have any thoughts on that?
He's not playing. I always take the Utes. I think they're a better football team, and I think they'll cover. I mean, Cal's just awful.
My line being Utah -13.9. That, even with that, I would take Utah as well.
Yep.
I mean, they can just grind them to dust. And that's in Provo as well. Like that's gonna be, or in early without the caffeine, but you know what I'm saying. Walt Bug says, would you, our boy Mike, would you take Ray Davis over 98 rushing yards? Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're going to obviously.
Kentucky hosts Missouri.
They're going to want to play physical. They're going to come out and prove that they're not this overrated team that got thrilled by. They're going to want to They're going to want to play physical. They're going to want to run the ball, pound the ball, and they're going to play angry. And Missouri is a solid football team, but I think he's going to get over 98.
I think so too. Missouri run defense, 68th rushing success rate, 74th in I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was misciting that. 16th rushing success. I was citing the passing one. 16th rushing success rate, but 76th explosion. You recall a couple of weeks ago, Davis was ripping off the long ones. He's going to have to do that to get over that number. So that's what that would come down to. I don't know. That'd probably be a stay away for me. Sergio Gora says Bo Nix rushing yards 17.5, but 24.5 on FanDuel. What do I do? Stay away from me. We just talked about that one. DDB says you guys sound like Ralph Michaels with A&M Tennessee. LOL. I don't know what that means, but thanks or I'm not sure.
Probably not a compliment.
Yeah, I don't know. Mike Lukovitz says Drake May over 28.5 rushing yards. Mike, any thoughts?
I'm not touching that. Nope.
Okay. Yeah, probably same for me. Let's see. We only got a couple more. I like Iowa to cover +9 against Wisconsin. Do you guys have a lean in this one? I took Iowa +10 earlier in the week. It's sort of like a service academy one. Iowa, their offense stinks, but they can run the ball a little bit, and the defense remains awesome. The special teams remains awesome. And Wisconsin is no great shakes this year. They're just, they're solid. But thoughts, Mike?
Under. That's my thing. Especially Wisconsin's offense. They're still, getting used to that new system, and Iowa stinks. They can't score any points, so under.
Sergio Gora 84 says Bo Nix. Man, people. Oh no, he already said it. Okay, so that's we actually did empty the mailbag. Okay, so we will get to our Thor's hammer and Farrell fade now. Man, we did it, Mike. So everyone who joined us, thanks so much for doing so. We're gonna get to our top picks here. If you guys wouldn't mind, if you stayed with us this whole time, please hit the like there. We would appreciate it, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us for another episode. Now we're gonna get to our top one, the Thor's hammer. I had hit every one up until last week. You can't blame me for that one. That was Jimbo Fisher's fault. I had the underdog that should have won outright if friggin' Jimbo Fisher hadn't.
Man. I mean, it should have, could doesn't cast check.
Yeah, I wanted to call Jimbo and be like, Jimbo, don't kick the field goal at the one. You don't need to call the timeout either. Just call Thor. I'll tell you, just friggin' do the push. Quarterback sneak and Farrell will push the quarterback from behind. He'll push Max in.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, call me in, coach. I'll push Max in from behind. Today, we don't even need that. We won't need the push. We Jimbo, he can't undermine us this time. This time we're gonna be okay. I typed it into the sheet wrong, so I hope it does it. We did put this one in. I'm on UNC this time, Mike.
They make graphics, bro. You can't put in the wrong team.
I put in the wrong. I made a mistake, like Mario Cristobal made a mistake last week.
You didn't take a knee. They probably got a graphic going up right now with Miami.
We're on UNC, Mike. UNC is the lock today. The North Carolina Tar Heels.
He hates you so much.
Is Thor's hammer. Don't put up the graphic. It's North Carolina. North Carolina is Thor's hammer for the day.
So cool, too, and it probably looks gorgeous. I haven't even checked in the chat to look at the graphic, but I bet you it was gorgeous. I'm
Mario Cristobal at the graphic. It's North Carolina.
There it is. Thor's hammer gorgeous is Miami. It looks pretty, too. It's purple against the...
I'm Mario Cristobal. It's North Carolina. It's Thor's hammer for today.
I'm fading Tennessee. I think, Texas A&M is a good matchup here, a really strong matchup on the road. They're going to get that money. They're going to cover. I don't know if they'll win. It could be a 1.2 point game, but give me Tennessee, fade Tennessee. Jimbo's not going to screw it up this time.
So North Carolina and Texas A&M.
So takes Texas A&M.
Those are our top 2 picks for today. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of College Football Game Day Live. This is so much fun. Join us again next week for another 90 minutes of breakneck college football gambling action. We really appreciate it. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Let's go cash some tickets.